Welcome back to the Prep Rally Podcast. Say it with me, Graham.
It's playoffs time
for everyone in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley.
Oh, man, the brackets are out, the matchups are set, and we're breaking down every classification from 7A all the way down to 2A and 8-man. A recap of last week's games of conference play. I'm ready. You ready?
Yeah, so let's grab our brackets and let's get into it. Into some recaps of last week's game. Graham starts off.
Okay, well, since we're really anxious to get to the playoff brackets for this show, we're just going to be real quick here. We're going to talk about just a few of the games that were really important. We'll start off with the game I was at in Centerton at Bentonville West. Bentonville West wasn't able to stick with Bentonville for much of the ball game. It got close. It really did. It was 20-10 at halftime. Bentonville West scored after halftime on the opening drive. The second half got within 20-17. Then Bentonville scored 3 times in a row and really took the ball game over and beat Bentonville West again for the 11th time out of 11 meetings. And Bentonville wins the 7A West outright conference championship.
But still, much love to be West, though.
Well, you know what? It's like people said after the ball game. All Bentonville West has to do is beat them one time, and it didn't have to be that time. But if they can beat them again, maybe in a couple weeks,
This is when you put the music, dun dun dun.
And the same can be said about with Greenwood and all the teams that are trying to beat them, like Mountain Home. Greenwood went on the road, Leland, and just thumped Mountain Home pretty good, about 42-10. About like I thought it would go. That's what Greenwood does. They travel well. Their defense traveled well, and their offense did what it had to do.
Well, and it's a case of Greenwood loves to when they get in a big game, it's like, ooh, big game, and they just kind of turn it up to another level. Led 21-0 at the half. They won 42-10. They win the outright conference championship. They're the top seed in the playoffs, and they'll be at home throughout.
But that's the thing about Greenwood that's so impressive is that every single time, I think people talk about it like, this team could beat them. But, for Greenwood, it's just another game. They walk and they're so composed.
Yeah, but now, like we talked about with Bentonville West and maybe Rogers too in the 7A, all you got to do is be able to beat Greenwood one time now. That's all that really matters. So Shiloh Christian, Mountain Home, Benton, all these teams that are trying to knock off Greenwood.
Absolutely.
They're gonna have a chance here in a couple of weeks.
Clean slate.
Oh, absolutely. Gravett defeated Gentry to earn the number 2 seed in the 4A1. Leland was at the Clinton Ozark game. Good ball game. Clinton just too much firepower for the Hillbillies. So Ozark's got to go on the road, but probably a really excited atmosphere over there at Hillbilly Stadium, Leland.
Absolutely packed. We had the Baptist preacher with his shotgun wearing the Ozark Hillbilly outfit. Just a great atmosphere. Ozark's side was packed. Clinton had a good crowd as well. Big game for the number 2 seed. Clinton, of course, jumped out to that 21-0 lead and put it away kind of early for a 52-30 win. But both teams, I think, will do very well in the playoffs.
All right. Well, City, let's do it.
Yeah, let's get into some Gimmie vibes.
Yo, this is Sham Davis. This is River Valley. Gimme 5.
These are the top 5 performances in the River Valley where we celebrate champions. Number 5, Phoebe Hopper from Magazine, a senior, won the Class A cross-country championship last week. Number 4, senior fullback Andrew Burton in an 80-8 win over West Fork, led Mansfield with just 8 carries for 202 yards and 4 touchdowns. Number 3, Champ Davis, receiver turned running back on Friday night in Greenwood's 42-10 win at Mountain Home. 13 carries for 144 yards and 5 touchdowns. He also caught 8 passes for 63 yards. Number 2, Ryan Allen, senior quarterback for Mountainburg in his final game for the football Dragons in a 56-28 win over Johnson County Westside on Thursday night. 16 carries for 231 yards and 6 touchdowns. He also completed 3 of 7 passes for 98 yards and a 53-yard touchdown toss to Levi Pence. Number 1, the River Valley Democrat-Gazette Player of the Week, John Crank, senior quarterback for Subiaco Academy, in a 34-0 win over Corning on Thursday night for the Class 4A, 3A Large School 8-man state championship. 33 carries, 341 yards, and touchdowns of 7, 21, and 32 yards in leading Subiaco to the state championship, their first official state championship in 101 years of football.
Whoa.
This is Will Newman, and this is the NWA Top 5.
Okay, here we go with the Northwest Arkansas Top 5 for the week. I'm also going to start with cross country, but I've got a whole list here at number 5. So we'll start in Class 3A, where Gabby and Maggie Bishop from Providence Academy, sisters, finished number 1 and 2 to lead the Lady Patriots to the state championship. The Providence boys also won the state championship. The Ozark Catholic boys won the state championship. The Shiloh Christian boys, led by a 1-2 finish from Bryce Allen and Matthew Thurman, going number 1 and 2, won the state championship in Class 4A. The Bentonville boys, 9 times in a row, state champions. Brian Burns led the way on that one. Bentonville girls also won the state championship. And then another exciting mention, Lily Brashears of Rogers won the individual Class 6A state championship. She'd been battling injuries and came back and was able to win the individual state championship. And last but certainly not least, the Kingston girls with the 1A state championship in cross country.
But also, little plug here, but in the summertime, we did a prep rally road trip with the Bentonville cross country team. So make sure you check that out on our Facebook and our YouTube pages.
Sweet. Nothing like the state cross country meet at Oak Lawn Park in Hot Springs. It's a neat event. Number 4, in a very valiant effort, we're going to go with Mason Short of Siloam Springs, 25 carries for 276 yards, 3 rushing touchdowns, including this 80-yard touchdown run that Brennan Barclay was able to catch on video at Fort Smith Southside on Friday night. Number 3, Cole Creighton of Shiloh Christian did just a little bit of everything on Friday in their win against Van Buren. He went 9 of 12 passing for 213 yards and 5 touchdowns. He rushed 5 times for 67 yards, and he also caught a 29-yard touchdown pass.
Okay.
Or actually, maybe just a 29-yard pass.
Doing a little Jeff Regan.
Hey, Cole Creighton, really good player for the Saints. Really happy he stayed healthy all year, and he's ready to make a playoff run here with Shiloh Christian. So, number 2, Chris Ficklin of Bentonville. What a night he had against Bentonville West. 22 carries for 255 yards and 2 touchdowns. You know, when we talked about Sydney earlier in the show, when Bentonville West got it close at 2017, right after that, Chris Ficklin broke a huge run and broke several tackles along the way to get Bentonville back up by 10.
You know,
before you do it, they were up by,
I'm just going to say it real fast, but this matchup really reminds me of Arkansas A&M. Every year kind of thing. Continue.
Okay, and then number 1, our Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette Player of the Week, Gage Botorf of Gravette. I really hope I said that right.
I hope you
did
too.
That's how Coach Bohannon told me. He said, just like it looks, Botorf. So.
You trust him on that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So Gage had 4 catches for 180 yards and 2 touchdowns as Gravett defeated Gentry in a key 4A1 playoff game. One of those touchdowns was a 96-yard touchdown catch. I can't believe Gravett was throwing it from their own 4-yard line, but they were. He also had a 60-yard touchdown late. And a shout out to J.D. Beam from Gravett, who also had 28 carries for 134 yards and 2 touchdowns in the same game. So that's it. That's the top 5, Sydney.
And now we want to take the time to thank our sponsors, West Termite. Take control of your pests with West. Whether it's termites, mosquitoes, bed bugs, weeds, or lawn disease, West has the experience serving Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma since 2003. Book your free consultation online today at westtermite.com. After
All
West
West
knows
pest
best.
best.
Yay! Good job, guys. Well, when we come back, we're going to get into some classifications.
You took it extra slow there. That really helped.
Welcome back. We're going to get into some classifications for these first rounds of playoffs.
All right. Well, let's start with the 8-man Leland. We do not have a local team from Northwest Arkansas or the River Valley in this one, but who do you like in the 8-man?
Well, Woodlawn is, I think the prohibitive favorite at this point. Strong's the defending champion. They're on the other side of the bracket. I think those two teams battle it out. I think probably Woodlawn defeats Strong again and wins the sanctioned small school classification of 8-man football.
Cedar Ridge has been ranked in the top 3 all year too, so they're the number 1 seed out of the North. And true story, folks. Leland covers the 8-man championship every year. Wake up, Sydney.
You thought I was kidding. I said wake me up when he gets to 6A.
Oh, come on now. I would have to agree. Woodlawn and Strong are going to be probably the 2 teams to watch out for. Cedar Ridge will have something to say about it, but 8-man's fun. It's a little bit wild, and you never know with some of these games how they'll go. Moving on over to Class 2A, Conway Christian is the defending champion, and they're playing East Poinsett County, who they beat in the state championship in the opening round this year. So you have the championship rematch in the opening round in Class 2A, but a lot of really good football teams in Class 2A. Leland, what do you think on this one?
Every single state champion from last year is in the playoffs this year, and most of them, I think, have a shot at repeating. Some have tougher roads than others. Conway Christian is the one that has the toughest road of repeating a state championship. Plus, they lost a lot of tremendous players from last year. They probably don't get out of the first round even this year, going up against East Poinsett County. Mount Ida's been very good out of the 2A1. Junction City, never ever count the Dragons out. I think it comes down to East Poinsett County, Mount Ida, and Junction City. Hector's had a great year too, but I think Junction City and East Poinsett County play for the state championship, and East Poinsett County prevails.
Hey, who's your dark horse in 2A?
Well, Hampton, they won their conference. They're the one winner that we didn't mention out of the conferences. But they're on the same side with Junction City. They would host Junction City in the semifinals. So it's probably them, maybe Carlisle, possibility too, and Hector. They have one of the state's leading rushers, so they're going to be a factor too. But I think East Poinsett County has been consistently the best team in 2A all season.
Okay, let's move on to 3A. Boy, there's a lot of football teams in the playoffs in 3A. There's so many rounds, and it's a long, grueling road in the 3A and the 4A to get to the state finals, to get to Little Rock, which will be in the middle of December, Sydney. It'll be Christmas time by the time they wrap this thing up. We've got some talented teams in the 3A1 and the 3A4 we're gonna talk about here. But I think Leland, the one thing that I'm looking forward to is you have a potential Mansfield-Salem clash at Mansfield in the semifinals if both those teams can get that far. Another rematch of those two teams.
Well, Coach Wood Overton, after Mansfield defeated Boonville in that driving rain, a few weeks ago. One thing he said when they wrapped up the top seed, the Class 3A state playoffs goes through Mansfield. And that's literally and figuratively true now because they're the top seed. They'll be at home throughout the playoffs, but they will have to host Bismarck on Thanksgiving Friday if they get that far.
Ooh.
Salem in the semifinals the first Friday of December. So, yes, the road does go through Mansfield to get to the Class 3A state championship game, but it's definitely a bumpy one for the Tigers. But they're more than capable. 10-0, their first perfect or their first undefeated regular season since 1928. So obviously Mansfield's sitting there. They're a favorite on that side. On the other side of the brackets, we've got Boonville and Charleston both playing at home in the first round. And Graham, Friday night when Boonville hosts Quitman, it will be their 125th playoff game in school history. Only one other school has ever played more playoff games than Boonville. Would you happen to know who that is?
I'm going to go Nashville.
Well, that's an excellent choice. Yes, they will be playing in 4A. Their 128th playoff game. So, Boonville, even though they'll have to go on the road after the first round, and Charleston, they'll have to go on the road after the first round. Both, I think, have excellent chances of coming out of that other side of the bracket.
And potentially, if they, well, it all depends on the seeding at that point. But if they knock off the number 1 seed, I mean, they might could get another home game. We'll see.
Again, a rough road, but those two teams, like we said in August, could be back in the semifinals in the Class 3A state playoffs.
Hey, Leland, wouldn't it be fun if Boonville and Charleston somehow happen to meet up in the semifinals on the first weekend in December?
That'd be great. And you know what? Boonville, well, that would be at Charleston because they would be the second seed. So even though they're on the bottom of the bracket, and it's very possible because both of those teams are very good. And it's a possibility for sure, but that's that seems like a long ways off from now.
Shout out to our Paris Eagles too. Jeff Weaver and his team have had a good season, and they're a 4 seed, but I think they were they finished in a tie for that number 2, so they could they're playing at Drew Central, got a road trip to make, but Paris they could score and watch out.
Well, and Lavaca goes on the road at Bismarck.
Yeah,
Hackett
Lavaca
goes on the road to Smackover.
How about that, Lavaca?
Yeah, actually, one of my really good friends went to Lavaca High School, so I have to go for them.
On that note, we're going to move to Class 4A, another huge bracket. A lot of teams. This will also wrap up in the middle of December. Elkins and Arkadelphia played for the state title last year. Leland and Elkins is the number 1 seed again. If they're going to play Arkadelphia, it would be in the second or the third round actually of the Class 4A playoffs. So, who do you like in Class 4A besides Elkins and Arkadelphia?
Before the season started, I picked Warren. Warren finished 3rd in their conference, but they lost a close game. Well, 67-54 to Hamburg. They also lost a close game at Stuttgart. Stuttgart, Hamburg, Warren. How about those 3 teams? How about Warren being a 3rd seed in the playoffs? That's a tough bracket. Arkadelphia out of the 7 is a 2nd seed because Nashville won that conference. And man, there's just so many good teams. And if you want to go star power, probably the Class 4A bracket has some big time players in it. You've got Creed Vega at Dardanelle, which is, won the 4A4. Kane Price, the coach's son at Stuttgart. Jackson Denton at Warren. Just some outstanding players all the way around. Elijah Moody, the quarterback at Mills, which finished 1st in their conference. Don't count out Clinton. Clinton against Arkadelphia. And maybe the biggest second round game in the state next weekend will be Hamburg at Dardanelle. Nikel Lewis set a single season state record last week with his 47th touchdown run just in the regular season. So, man, the 4A is always fun to watch. I still like Warren's chances of coming out on top, even though they'd have to play Nashville in the semifinals. And then they'd have probably Hamburg or Dardanelle on the other side. Man, Elkins Road is going to be tough. I see Stuttgart coming out of the other side of the bracket, and it's Stuttgart and Warren in the state championship game.
Wow. Stuttgart and Warren. Man, it could go any way. I mean, you got a lot of good teams. You know, Mills, Gosnell's undefeated. They're a top seed. They would get Warren in the second round if Warren can get by Gentry. Gravett is going to have a home game against CAC. Prairie Grove after a huge win last week, and they're going to go to Heber Springs. So there's a lot of football to be played in Class 4A. So we'll keep an eye on that one for sure.
Well, and the Ozark Hillbillies will go to Bauxite, and then maybe Mills, and then maybe Stuttgart. I see Ozark possibly playing 2 or 3 games in the playoffs as well.
Oh, it's fun. Man, it's fun. Okay, Class 5A. Oh, man. Last year it was Farmington and Little Rock Parkview in the finals. Both those teams are in it. Farmington, though, if they can get by Harding Academy on this Friday, they've got the tough assignment probably of going to Joe T. Robinson, who has been in the top 10 in the Arkansas Sports Media Poll. They're undefeated, number 1 in Class 5A. Man, that's a tough assignment for the Cardinals there, Leland.
Oh, absolutely. Last year they got all those playoff games at home. They lived a pretty charmed life last year. This year they're going to have to load that bus up because even if they get past Robinson, which, like you said, is a monumental order for the Cardinals, then they would get to go to Hot Springs, which won that conference, which was a loaded conference with Hot Springs Lakeside and defending state champ Little Rock Parkview as well. So, yeah, tough road for Farmington. I see Class 5A potentially having more upsets in it than any other bracket because even though Parkview finished second in the South and they've kind of been written off this year, they haven't even been in the top 5 in Class 5A in the Arkansas Sports Media Poll in a month and a half. They're not going to go lightly. But what's going to be really interesting in that bottom half of that bracket, Harrison is the 4th seed out of the West. I can see, and I think Harrison knocks off Valley View, the champion from the East in the first round, and then Harrison would have to go to Parkview, go to War Memorial Stadium to play Parkview. I can see Parkview winning that game and then beating Greenbrier, the West champion, in the semifinals and getting back to War Memorial Stadium, even though everybody has kind of written them off, because I guarantee you the Patriots are sitting there saying, what about us? They've won 3 in a row.
So
these seniors for Parkview have not lost a playoff game. And then out of the top, obviously Robinson and Hot Springs are the 2 favorites. But Farmington with Aiden Lester, I don't think Coach Tom Tice is conceding anything to anybody at this point.
Not a chance. So it sounds like what you're saying, a great dark horse pick in 5A is the Little Rock Parkview Patriots, and I would agree with that.
Well, but it's hard to call Parkview a dark horse just because they've lost a couple of games this year. They're still the 2nd seed. They're still the 3-time defending state champion. Parkview is still, it's hard to call them a dark horse. But I tell you, Parkview and Harrison and Valley View in that half of the bracket, and Greenbrier with Enoch Asan at running back. There's a possibility there. And Searcy's had a very good season too. So 5A is just going to be a really fun one to watch, especially given that I think that's the bracket, the classification that has the most potential for upsets.
Well, Sydney, I blew it.
What do you mean?
We were supposed to read our spot before we got into 5A. We were just too
Well,
excited.
I was about to do it for 6A. So
Okay.
let me do my stuff, okay? Before we get into 6A, we want to remind everyone that NWAonline.com and River Valley Democrat-Gazette.com are the premier spots to get all the latest news on all things high school sports. Additionally, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and now at TikTok, or as I like to call it, Tic-Tac, at Prep Rally Sports, where we share exclusive interviews with players and a lot more fun, as many of you have probably already seen. So with that being said, let's now get into the 6A.
All right. Well, the 6A bracket. So, oh man, a lot of our really strong teams in Class 6A, so Greenwood, Shiloh, are not playing this week. There's some first round buys for the 1 seeds and the 2 seeds. So this week in particular, have some interesting matchups. Van Buren is hosting Marion in a playoff game, and Southside is going to Jonesboro. And I tell you what, I really like Van Buren against Marion. Van Buren has been down the last 3 weeks, but they've also played the top 3 teams in the conference. So I kind of like them to win this week, Leland. And then after that, it's a tough assignment having to go to Sylvan Hills in the second week. And then I really like Southside to go over to Jonesboro and win. I don't know why I think that. I think that has all the makings of a shootout kind of ball game, and I like Southside's firepower in that one.
Well, I can tell you why you like Southside and Van Buren in the first round, because over the last 4 years, well, in the Class 6A playoffs, it's East versus West. There's 2 classifications. Because the top 2 teams get buys, it's 3s versus 6s and 4s versus 5s. And over the last 4 years, the West is 14-2 in that first round of the playoffs. So Van Buren winning at home, getting a home playoff game against Marion. They had to go to Marion last year and all the way across the state in the first round and won. I think they can win at home against Marion again. And yes, they're coming into the game with 3 straight losses. But if you'll look over the past few weeks in the Arkansas Sports Media poll, Greenwood, Mountain Home, and Shiloh Christian have all been ranked 1, 2, and 3. So they've played arguably the top 3 teams in Class 6A over the last 3 weeks. So if they're not beat down mentally and beat up physically, I think they have an excellent shot. And they are a little, beat up a tiny bit. But I think they have a good shot of winning this first round playoff game and then going to Sylvan Hills. And I think they'll also have a shot in that game. Southside 2 could win at Jonesboro. Then they get to go back to Greenwood to play. But the big thing in this bracket is that Sylvan Hills is the top seed in the East. Benton tied them for the top spot, but they're in the bottom half of that bracket. And after Mountain Home goes to Benton in the second round, of course, Mountain Home's going to have to play Sheridan and Kevin Kelly in that first round. Then it's Benton. And boy, how big is that Benton possibly at Greenwood game in the semifinals on Thanksgiving Friday?
Well, it's something Greenwood's used to, practicing Thanksgiving week and playing in Thanksgiving games. It seems like they do it every year. But what is not being done every year is at Sylvan Hills. That's a new experience for them. So Shiloh Christian, we kind of feel like they're going to have a great chance. They have a great road to the finals if they can just keep winning. I think every one of the games in front of them is winnable, and I really think, Sydney, we're going to see that rematch, Shiloh Christian and Greenwood.
I was saying this from the beginning, from week 1. I think it is going to be Shiloh and Greenwood in the final.
Shiloh's got to stay healthy, though. That's the big thing for them. They don't have a big roster.
And I think they are healthy at this point. But look at the possible semifinal matchup. Benton at Greenwood, Shiloh Christian at Sylvan Hills. Again, talk about star power. Look at those 4 quarterbacks. Of course, Sylvan Hills, Tyler Hampton is having a super year for them. Obviously, won the conference championship. Cole Creighton, another great quarterback, having a great year. And then Benton, Drew Davis, he's a 3-year starter, had a great career. And then Greenwood's quarterback's pretty good too. He's had a historic season, a historic career, Kane Archer. So, man, talk about some star power, possibly if, those games happen for, Thanksgiving Friday.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then the big school classification, Class 7A. It's opening week, so Bentonville, Rogers have the byes in the West. Bryant and Conway have the byes in the Central. So, which some interesting opening round games. Personally, I think Harbor can go to Little Rock Christian and win. I think Fayetteville. We have Fayetteville and Pulaski Academy here in a rematch of last year's quarterfinal game.
Yeah, which again, zoom into my stuff. Purple rain all the way until the semifinals.
Ooh.
I still love you, Faye. I still love you.
So City's already calling the Fayetteville over Bryant upset in the quarterfinals. That would be at Bryant, by the way.
Yeah.
North Little Rock and Bentonville West are going to play in the opening round. I think Bentonville West should be able to bounce back against the charging Wildcats of North Little Rock High.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cabot and Springdale. That's another rematch of an opening round game from last year. This time it's at Cabot. Springdale's got to make the trip. Cabot pulled off an upset win over the Bulldogs last year in this game. So some intriguing first-round matchups, but then you get, into the quarterfinal rounds, and then you bring Bentonville, Rogers, Bryant, and Conway back into the mix.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts on that, but I don't know if I should say them out loud. I think I should keep my inner thoughts.
Yeah, the Bentonville Tigers are the number one seed, have a home field advantage all the way into the finals if they can get that far. And, in my opinion, they're either going to play Conway or Bentonville West, in the semifinals. And
I said it last week, but I don't think it's the last time Bentonville West is going to see Bentonville this season. I think they're going to see him again in this playoff.
Assuming they win against North Little Rock, they're going to have to go to Conway and win at Conway. Not an easy task. And then on the other side of the bracket, Bryant, I'm expected to see a Bryant and Fayetteville matchup at Bryant next week.
I'm hoping that too, because last year it was tough. I mean, the way Fayetteville lost the last second, it was hard to watch, and I think from the motivation of last year, and also another plug-in, but Prep Rally Road Trip, we did an episode on Fayetteville, and I think just a lot of their players were very motivated from that specific game for this upcoming season. So I can definitely see them mentally just ready for this game. It's been a year, and I think they want this one.
Rogers, they've got to play either Little Rock Christian or Harbor, the winner of that game, at home. And then if Rogers wins their home game next week, then they would probably.
I think they're most likely going to win.
Well, unless Fayetteville upsets Bryant or Pulaski Academy upsets Bryant, they're going to have to go to Bryant in the semifinals and win.
Yeah, I might be wishy-washy on Fayetteville making to the semis. I hope so, but Rogers definitely going to make it to the semis.
And we'll just. We'll see what happens. It's a loaded playoff bracket.
All right, who's in the final?
I'm going to go with Bentonville and Bryant.
Graham. Wow. Okay.
In fact, I moved Bentonville ahead of Bryant in my personal vote on the sport. They're really good.
So you're saying Bentonville wins.
I think Bentonville seems to be the most complete team. I know Bryant's really good, has some really good players, but I think Bentonville may be the best team.
Oh, man. I might surprise you here. I'm definitely going to say in the finals I have Rogers. But I'm still back and forth because, listen, I really want to see Bentonville West and Bentonville have that rematch, and I can't say for certain who I would have as my other pick. But I say Bentonville West. You know what? I'm just going to throw all the cards out the window here. I know everyone's probably picking Bentonville, and that's okay if I'm wrong in this.
Oh, yeah.
But I want to be encouraging. I like this Bentonville West team. I like a good underdog, and Bentonville has a great team. But I do want to see the underdog get to the finals. So I'm going to say Bentonville West, Rogers, but Rogers comes out on top. That's who I'm picking
Wow.
as the overall winner.
Wow, that'd be a heck of a...
I know, crazy. And for anyone who's watching this, you can say whatever you want, but I'm going to stand firm on that. I really like this Rogers team, and they were close in beating Bentonville too, and so I have no other reason to think that they can't win this whole thing.
The beautiful thing about what you're predicting would be both Bentonville West and Rogers would have to overcome some demons along the way for this to happen. One, Bentonville West would have to beat Bentonville, assuming that's who they would play.
Yeah.
I think it would be. They would have to win at Bentonville, which they can do. And then Rogers would have to win a huge playoff game on the road at Bryant, most likely. So, I wouldn't put it past Fayetteville. Fayetteville and Bryant, I mean, that could be a really good game. If Fayetteville's clicking on offense, if Hank is,
I'm just gonna call it the bracket of underdogs. Okay, that's my approach here. I really like these teams and their approach this season, and yeah, that's who I'm sticking with. Sorry, not sorry for Bentonville fans, but this is what I'm sticking with.
All right. I'm going Bentonville and Bryant. I'm taking the easy choice, but we need to get your take on this 7A bracket and what it looks like.
Well, we talked about in 5A was ripe with potential upsets. I see the chalk holding true throughout the Class 7A bracket. And interesting, I think, we talked about too, Dardanelle and Hamburg being maybe the most interesting second-round game in all of the state in the second round. First round game, Pulaski Academy at Fayetteville is, I think, the premier game of this coming Friday night. Pulaski Academy has won a first round or has won a playoff game in 26 straight seasons, which is a state record. I see that streak coming to an end on Friday night. Fayetteville redeems itself from last year's playoff loss, and I think they win that game. And I think they go to Bryant and give the Hornets all they want, because one thing about that conference, they don't see teams like Fayetteville and Rogers, these aired out teams. And I think with Hank Hendricks, the ground game of Caleb Johnson, Katavian Taylor, I think that offense gives Bryant all they want. I still think Bryant prevails and they host Rogers in the semifinals. But I too agree. I think it's Bentonville and Bryant in the state championship game, and Bentonville wins it.
Wow.
I agree with you on the Fayetteville thing. I think Fayetteville's going to redeem themselves here late in the year, and they're going to play a heck of a game Friday, beat Pulaski Academy, and they're going to go to Bryant and play really, really well.
At the end of the day,
I've said I would not want to run into. How do you do with the Fayetteville? Is
No,
that it?
to put your finger down. Oh my gosh. No, definitely not that. Don't put a certain finger up. It's down like this. But this is the year that, I mean, essentially this is always my approach, but we can pick the teams that look really good from the season. Yes, absolutely, but you can't be scared of those teams. They're good, but you can't be scared of them. And it's going to be the one who's most mentally tough, and honestly, I think that's going to be Rogers this year. So,
all right.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's episode of Prep Rally Podcast, and we'll see you next week and see if some of our predictions were correct.